This is the cheapest 350Z I could find on the internet. I got it for $3,000, and it needs some work. Now, some of you might have noticed in the background of the opening shot, I've got a 280Z sitting in here. I bought that 350Z not to keep, but to flip. The goal of this video series is actually to flip cars so I can build this 280Z back into as close as factory and brand new as I can. Let's take a look. Now, I bought this Z with allegedly 79,000 original miles. It's only got a 5-digit odometer, so take that with what you will. It runs okay. I've done some spark plugs, distributor change, and I got it running a lot better than it was. Now, as some of you may know, if you're a Z fan, these floor pans like to rust out. And let me add, I've done all this already. I couldn't wait to get it home and start working on it. It's got a complete interior that's in really nice shape. I've just started the process of taking all the interior out and fixing some smaller spots of rust. As you can see, I did some of the back wheel here, or the rear spare wheel carrier, spare wheel well. And I discovered there was some rust here. They had bonded over some holes. So I went ahead and I just covered that with some rust converter. These back windows had some rust around the edges, so I took the wire wheel and I went and busted all that off. And then I'm going to start working on the rest of the trunk and back through here. Get rid of some of the surface rust to stop it from spreading. Now, the reason why I have to flip cars to pay for this thing is because these floor pans are completely shot. At some point, they had tried to fix a rotted floor rail, and they did a terrible job. Underneath here, let's see if we can see it. I mean, this is like aluminum foil. Don't know. Yeah, there you go. There's a big hole here where the seat mounts. So it is completely shot and unsafe to drive. I'll get thrown through a window doing 80 miles an hour in a front end collision, splattered across the pavement, dead. Not good for my daughter. So I'm cutting it out, and I've got a full pan frame rail and seat mount kit on order from KF Vintage. But the thing is those cost $1,600 between all of them, and I still have to pay tariff duties, which is fantastic, right? The passenger side isn't much better. The seat rails are good. However, the frame rail that runs underneath the seat has a gap about as long as my forearm here underneath this section, so I've got to cut both pans out and fix those. Let's start looking around the exterior here. As you can see, it's dirty. Bumper's got a little bit of a sag going on it. A couple chips and dings on the front bumper. Pretty standard, probably some slower collisions. Very dirty. I think this will clean up pretty well. It is a convertible. Looks like maybe some touch-up paint went on there at some point. Looks like somebody might have hit it in the corner. A little bit of a skid going across there. The wheels look great. The tires are new. Overall, I'd say it's in 6.5 out of 10. It's one of the better looking Zs that I've found, and it's not owned by anyone that's done anything crazy to it. It's completely unmodified, and it was an older gentleman that bought it for his wife, hence the convertible. Let's move on into the interior. Get my keys out. Does have keyless. And the interior is, let's say, just a little bit dirty. The guy had parked it for about 6 months, and he has not done anything to it since then. I've done some looking around to see what else it needs, and let's just say I've got something planned that nobody on the internet is talking about on how to fix this particular item. Moving on to the engine bay of the car, you can tell that it is fairly dirty, pretty standard though for a car that was sitting outside not moving for 6 months. Does have a new battery, and it will need a brake fluid change, as you can see from the color of that. It'll need an oil change. He didn't do an oil change for 6 months, so it's running off that. I didn't drive it. I got it towed back about 2 hours to my house. It's got the HR engine, so that's a more powerful version, but there are the what do you call them, oil gallery gaskets that need to be replaced typically. I did the tests that the internet uses normally to test those, and the oil pressure stayed over 15 psi even after getting up to operating temperature. Let's take a look at the trunk. This is also another hint as to what I'm working on and why I got this thing for so cheap. First off, let's start by saying the interior is complete and it is in good shape. It's just very dirty. Complete set of carpets, and even has the original spare tire, toolkit, and some TP. Now looking at the other side of the car, as you can see, these will need to be redone, this will need to be redone, but the back plastics look good. Interior, I'm going to take these seats out and clean them up. And then on the driver's side, you've got some rips on the interior, which isn't that bad, considering this was a $3,000 350Z. Moving on to how the engine performs, let's get this thing cranked up so you can see the mileage and how it starts. This is cold start. Starts right up. It is a 6-speed, which is a huge bonus. There's another indicator as to why this was so cheap. It does have 176,000 miles on it. It's got that terrible noise that the 350Zs make. But the engine runs smooth. It's a very good sounding engine. It's the exhaust that's the problem with these engines, at least. Getting a little older, so getting in and out of these things is a pain on my knees. Heat and AC both work great. There's your oil pressure. And then the idle simmers right down. I'll close this up so that way that light goes away. No check engine lights. It does have brand new suspension on all 4 corners. It's got new tires. They fixed an issue with the steering wheel clock spring causing issues with grounding. The main issue is, let's get to it and I'll show you. Since the car is on, let's start this process. It is a convertible, So let's see what happens when I press this button. You open the top here, windows go down, seat moves up, and you hear that? Just give a listen. The top does not move up. Now here's the thing. It's a little tight back here, but this is what the internet won't tell you. If your top won't come up and you're hearing that metallic clunk as the latch releases, you can take a 5mm Allen head, pop this top off back here, get it in the 5th bow motor, and even if your latch is stuck on a catch, you can do this method because the gear will force it out and my top lifts up. Now, doing some digging as to why this occurs is well, there's a little bit of an issue. That thing won't. That's not the greatest thing, just discovered. So why the top won't come up is there's a process that it works on, right? First step is brakes have to be depressed, correct? Then the windows come down. Then the seat moves forward, and then it triggers a mechanism underneath here to unlatch this piece. If this latch is either stuck or it is not connected fully, it will cause the rest of the processes to fail because it won't work. So what I did last night after I got the car back was I took my borescope camera and I stuck it in the latch mechanism. Let's take a look at what that looks like. Do some wiggling around, take a look inside. Do you see how greasy and dirty that is in there? There's your springs, they're fine. They've got lots of tension. I was rubbing them with the camera last night. But the latch mechanism, you can see it down there very faintly. Let's see if we can get a better action. There it is. I think that's the latch mechanism there. I'll pull out just to make sure. It's very dirty. So first off, the latch isn't even catching in there. So it's not able to release the latch because the spring pressures aren't on it. So that's going to cause the main issue of the top not coming up. The seller did say that it was working before we parked it for 6 months. I'm assuming that it just got seized due to all the gunk that's in there and now it won't release. And then the top wasn't fully seated because he said that the top wouldn't sit down all the way. And the reason is these elastic bands on the top are kaput. They are completely sagging and basically are no good anymore. I'm gonna get those zip tie trick that I saw in another video. So that's what I'm working on for this Z, is getting this top working. Everything else works on it, and then we will hopefully have a running convertible Z with little to no issues. All right, we're going full first person mode because I just dropped the stand. So this one sticks a good bit. So we're gonna go ahead and scooch these all the way as far as we can get them. Get us some extra working room back here. And then we are going to unlatch the roof here. And we are going to pull the soft top up using that secret method nobody on the internet wants to share. Because if the latch doesn't unlatch, the fifth bow will not want to wind. All right. So now that we've got the fifth bow up, we're going to want to pop the trunk, go back behind here, and then there are two tabs over here that you need to pull to release the storage lid. So pull this trim forwards. Yeah, so in order to open up your storage compartment from the inside, pull on each one of the straps here and then stick your wrench in, your Allen, it's a 5mm. What I'm experiencing is that both of these have to go up at about the same time, or else it'll start wanting to pull the other side down. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here, but basically there's this here that needs to be twisted, and then there's this one here, and both have to go up about the same time. Okay, well, we're pretty much all the way up. So from what I've seen online, all I gotta do is take these trim pieces off, take some bolts off, pull that out, and then I should be able to see what's inside. It is a toasty day here in January. Pull those two pins out, pop that access pin off. All right, we are now in the storage compartment, looking in at this piece here. So this piece is fully pushed in, which means that it is in the fully closed position. So what I need to do is, I think there's a trick to it now. No, because the piece is access back here. Let's see if we can disengage the lock, because the switches all look good. And it does have grease on it. But as we saw through this hole, where my finger's going, all that is gunked up back there. So I'm gonna grab that camera out and see if we can see inside. All right, we are now using the borescope to check inside, just to verify the condition of the locking mechanism. There's one of those latches, or the springs. And that is another spring there, another spring there. All the springs look to be attached. However, the latching mechanism, which is here, I don't know if you can see this, all the glare, is coated in grime. So I guess my next step would be
I don't know. I'm gonna try some brake cleaner first and see what happens. All right, I was gonna try and degrease it, but let me see if I can just get the latch to engage using my pokey thing here. So the latch is now latched. Okay, so that's latching. Let me put the storage cover down and see if that works. Now when you finish putting down the lid, you want to make sure that both of these are as tight, not quite as tight as you can get them, but they're as tight as each other, and they're pretty tight. That way it guarantees that they're at full retraction when you go to put the top up. Again, it's because those cables need to be adjusted. Now what I am going to do is I am going to put the soft top down, because again the cables are preset. However, since we went ahead and latched it already, it should not lock in, which is fine, I would assume, because we don't want it to lock in and get stuck, because that's just a whole new bag of worms. And I don't know if you can see back that way, but right along this silver cable here is a screw type cable that is inching out as we depress it. So we're just putting it back, not quite all the way because we're not going to fully close it. So now you can see that it's sitting on the latch. I'm going to want to take this out so that way the cable can move. Key set to accessory, and we are going to pop that up, close both doors, and we are going to press the open button. Windows go down. And we're still only getting, oh, there we go. It takes a few tries. I'm switching to the phone camera now. It takes a few tries, but eventually that latch unclicked, and now the top is going up. Top is going up. And partially open the back up. So now I'll go in the back and take a look at it. So something back here is preventing it from disengaging. Now I've seen online that if, let me take a look at this cable here. This cable is now fully extended. Okay, it's been a few days since the last clip. Basically what I did is I took out the assembly in the tonneau cover / storage compartment and discovered that this cable, I've been messing with it for a few days. Basically, I'll show you the new one that I got from Daniel's Racing and Parts on eBay. There is these little plastic clips that go into the notches there and here on mine. This one was good, but this one was broken off. So whenever I would flip this, if you can see there's a little micro switch, I would flip it and it would not engage the switch. I'll get closer to it so you can see this blue switch. I would engage it, that's the clicking noise you hear, and it would stay not there but back here because the tension was not correct. So that switch was not engaged, which would then tell this motor over here not to pull on this. But if you noticed when I was going through it, when I manually pushed this down using the screwdriver, it engaged fully for whatever reason. And then I pressed it a few times, and I guess that was enough to get it to release and then do the full operation. And then when I stopped mid-process and pressed the button again, it clicked it, but it wasn't pressing the switch down. So that's why it wasn't going up and down from what I know of how this works. So we're gonna put this new one in, and hopefully that'll fix everything. I got a whole new assembly and brand new cables, so let's get it done. Okay, unfortunately, on the new part that I ordered, this micro switch was broken, so I'm just gonna go ahead and use the latch I had with this new cable. This piece goes in first, the motor. You plug it in. You plug it in down there. Scooch that out of the way. Then this goes with the cable facing away and the latch fully down. Okay, so that clip down there that connects to here needs to be installed. Now this cable, according to the full service manual, goes up, around, and then latches into here. So I've got this nice and greased. This spins in, clicks into place like so, and this should just rotate and mount there. So I guess so in order to get the latch pull down cable motor to connect, all you do is you twist it once you've got it unseized. If yours is seized up, twist it to tighten or loosen according to how you need it. In my case, I need it loosened, so I'm going this way. And you want it facing downwards. As you can see, it's as far as it can go without any slack. This is fully pressing in that micro switch. This micro switch down here is not depressed, so when this motor shortens up, it'll depress that one. And then hopefully this new cable will make everything work exactly as planned. Let me get the cotter pin in there and then we'll see if it works. All right, that pin is now connected. Give it a double check. That's that runs into there. That cable is nice and secure. I'll give it a push down and a check manually. Okay, manually latched in. Go back to the phone camera, make sure that micro switch is depressed. So we should be good. Let's clear out all the stuff that is in the way, and then we'll give it a test. All right, we're gonna go ahead and change the oil. All you need is 14 millimeter and your oil. Of course, you do need a drain pan. Let's go ahead and get this knocked out. I already got it up on jacks. Hope the alarm doesn't go off on me. As you can see, we got the top down. And I did just polish this thing, try and get some of those weird spots out of it. Don't have the best working conditions here, but we'll make do. All right, your oil filter is there, drain plug is there. We'll get that removed, and then we'll get this removed. All right, we got the plug loosened up. Scooch this over just a touch. There it is. Doesn't look too bad, just looks old. Like I said, the guy did it 6 months ago, but he didn't drive it for 6 months, so here it is. And we do have this leaned this way, so this is the lowest point. We're on a bit of a slant, so we'll get all this oil drained out and I'll get back to you. All right, we got the oil all drained out. I'll put the plug in temporarily because this filter is really cranked on there and I need to get up to do it. So let me try and get this off. Not doing hammer and screwdriver today. Some micro guard, huh? really like to go all out on their parts. Not that I'm doing much better, I'm putting a Wix on it. Throwing on a Wix with some Valvoline, high mileage. Get this bad boy on here. Camera died, but we put the oil in. I don't know how far it got. 5 quarts of oil. Okay, now the oil has been changed. Here's our box of many uses. Back over here. Found this knife. Get in the car, hopefully the battery's back alive. That sounds a lot better than it did. Pressure sitting about 60. First drive, technically. Pretty slow. Gears are shifting good. This thing's ready for sale. So as you heard in the last clip, I thought this thing would be ready for sale. Unfortunately, on our way home, I heard some whirring, rumbling noises coming from the back. I thought it was a differential fluid. So I got the differential and the manual transmission fluid changed just in case it was needed, but that wasn't the source of the noise. Turns out that this thing has some bad wheel bearings on it, so I've got those ordered, and while I was at it, I figured I'd throw in some brakes too. I was really hoping to get everything taken care of in one video, but it looks like we're gonna have to wait for those parts to come in. While I was at it, I figured I'd throw in the elastic bands for the roof so that way it can fully close and just get everything as good as we can get it before we put it up for sale. So I'll see you on the next one, and hopefully next video you see this thing is sold and out of the driveway.